Hey, Matt Noren at the Community Workbench. I proudly sponsor the Community Workbench and everything that it represents for local entrepreneurs. And speaking of which, I am a local entrepreneur. I am a realtor with Remax Bell Park in Hayville, Connecticut. Fully licensed in Connecticut to do commercial, rentals, and residential. I absolutely love my job, love working with clients. So if you are in any need for a realtor, please give me a call, 860-428-6534. Your dreams are my job. Welcome to the Community Workbench. This is Matt Noren and Kyle Morrissey. We are your hosts of the #1 podcast in my basement. At the bench, we try to repair the sense of community. So every week we bring you small businesses, entrepreneurs, community leaders, charities, and pretty much whoever we feel like talking to. And this week we have the pleasure of talking to Adam Reynolds and his wife Jen Reynolds, who run and own Reynolds Electric LLC. Hi, Jen.
Hi. How you doing?
Hi, Adam.
How's it going?
Thank you guys for coming to the bench. And I want to start off right off the bat. Thank you, Jen, for all the support online, because you're like always a name that I see that liking, hearting, and laughing and engaging. So and sharing posts and stuff. So thank you so much for that.
Absolutely. Love what you do.
Oh, thank you. The other thing I'll say is thank you for the rum, rye, whiskey, ginger, and bitters. Really appreciate that. We're now drinking that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You have to come with bearing gifts.
Yeah, I guess that's awesome. Hercules Mulligan. I love it. Do you play golf?
I do not play golf.
You don't play golf. All right.
No.
We won't talk about that now.
Mini golf.
Nobody's perfect.
Windmills.
Certainly not you.
No, mine is the mini golf. That's as far as I do for golf.
Yeah. So, Adam, let's talk a little bit about your background. I met you at Ellis Tech. You were a senior when I was a freshman.
Yep.
And you were an athlete. Track.
Yep. Cross country, indoor track, outdoor track.
Yeah.
You know, all that good stuff. Graduated high school, all of 99 pounds from all the running we did. We were lucky enough to have Coach Chester at the time.
Yeah. Chester Phillips.
Yep. Yeah. I believe he was actually inducted into the Coaching Hall of Fame for the state of Connecticut too.
That's awesome.
So he was an icon.
Yeah, all the champions up at all the banners were for shooting, riflery, and running.
Shooting and running.
That's what we were good at.
For some reason that may have tied together.
So, you want to just get started with kind of like your background. Before the podcast, you were kind of talking about how far back the love of electricianing,
Power Rangering, Gigawatt Rangering. Yeah, I've wanted to do this since I was in first grade. My grandfather was an electrician. I mean, he worked for Reynolds Electric right around the corner here.
Nice.
This has been like a no-brainer for me forever. So, like I knew when I was a little kid that if I was going to Grandma and Grandpa's house for the weekend, I knew my grandfather always got up early Saturday mornings, and he would go do something at one of the places he couldn't work during the week, like namely Brooklyn Middle School. So if I got up and I was up by 5:30, 6 o'clock, I could hop in the truck with him, and we would go to Brooklyn Middle School. And I would be that 10-year-old and like handing my grandfather fluorescent tubes to change out light bulbs in classrooms that they couldn't do during the week.
Right.
And
That's awesome.
then my next best favorite thing was going to breakfast. We'd either go to breakfast back when Giant Pizza had breakfast,
Okay.
or George's Galley.
Yeah.
Or Classic.
Yeah.
They all had breakfast at one point. You know, back when you could get a breakfast for $1.99.
Yeah.
I'd get my French toast, my powdered sugar, and this is a happy 10-year-old.
Shout out to George's Galley. My grandfather always got his oil changed across the street, and when we were with him, we would go to George's Galley for same thing, like either breakfast or lunch or whatever. And back then, I remember that was a pretty smoke-filled diner.
Yes, it was. Yes, it was. It was fantastic.
Yeah.
But I've always wanted to be it. I graduated from trade school at Ellis Tech in 1999. Went right into the trade. I worked for a larger outfit out of Hartford for a while. Worked at the Basketball Hall of Fame. Actually was there when they built the new Basketball Hall of Fame, and I was there the night they inaugurated Larry Bird in.
That is so cool.
Yeah, and like there's little things that people don't know, like the Basketball Hall of Fame, their basketball court inside. I think it's 3 feet too short intentionally, so they can never hold a legal game inside the Basketball Hall of Fame.
Huh.
So that's like some little intentional
Yeah.
thing they do there.
I was at the older one.
You say older one, it might have been the new one compared to now.
No, I was a little kid, and I remember they were getting ready to build a new one.
Yep.
And they had like blueprints and stuff on the wall. But I remember you would go, and it was kind of like timed, and all these basketballs would come rolling by, and you'd shoot at all these different size hoops and stuff like that. And then they had one of the first video game simulators to play basketball on the simulator. I don't know if you ever.
Yeah,
got
they
to
had
do
another
that.
simulator there.
Yeah, I was there as a tourist. So.
You weren't working.
No.
No, I ended up working behind the scenes. I was on that job for, I don't know, almost a year and a half, 2 years working on that job.
Wow.
It was such a weird way. It was done in phases and everything else. But that was a long project. It was one of the cooler ones I worked for. And then I also did the Cabela's in East Hartford, too.
Oh, wow.
And when we did that job, we had 65 electricians on that job.
Jeez.
You just can't imagine how many people. You know?
I feel for the coordinator, the project coordinator.
Seriously.
So, because that means there's probably same amount of plumbers, same amount of sheetrockers, same amount of, just like everybody
Like little
involved.
crazy things that happened in that place, too. Like those escalators, they came in as one piece. They brought a crane in to bring a crane in.
Oh, yeah,
Put a
yeah.
crane on the second floor and put a crane on the ground floor, and they just like picked up it and put it in place, and then just like plugged it in, and you're done. And that was it. That's how
wild.
that's how fast the escalators went in that place. I was like, all right,
Yeah.
you don't see that on an everyday basis.
One summer I worked for Liberty Glass up in Thompson, and they had pictures on the wall and stuff from when they did the tower at Bradley, the glass tower, and they had a crane that came in to build the second crane, and it had even the slab that they had to pour in the ground had crazy specs of how far it was footed and anchored and everything just to put the tower up on the top of the building. So yeah, crane work is unbelievable.
Yeah, the math they put into that, like when you have one footprint, right? They got to do the math that if that whole crane leads forward on that 1 foot, it's going to handle all the weight of the mass and what you're lifting on that one spot.
Right. Yeah.
And just doing that math out, that's a lot of weight.
Yeah. Yeah. And then they play the wind and everything too. That all becomes a huge factor.
Yep.
So that is cool though. It's cool to see those things. Is that where you see like Reynolds Electric going? You want to do more big projects like that, or are you like a
Nah,
residential lover?
I'm actually on the other end. Like probably, I actually am in love with the industrial side.
Oh, really? Okay.
So our biggest clienteles are gravel yards, asphalt plants, concrete plants. I always have the ingoing joke at work. Like they call us when they push the green button and things don't go roundy round. That's what they call us for. Like, hey, I pushed the button and it didn't go roundy round anymore. So
Oh, wow.
we have a big client list of that type of work. And we go in there and we do 480 volt, 100, 200, 300, 400 horsepower motors and wiring, all that stuff. We take big rocks and turn them into little rocks everywhere, right?
Yeah.
But the most efficient way to do it is all electric motors because it's just more reliable. And we do that in quite a large scale. I would say that's probably what, 2/3 our work.
Yeah, about 2/3. And the other third would be residential.
Yeah, we have
And some commercial.
yeah, very very bookend, very very little commercial. We do, grandma's outlet that burned up because she yanked the cord from 45 feet away.
Grandma, Kyle did that last week.
It's great. So we do that extreme all the way to, the 2,000 amp service, 480 volt, 1 megawatt generators powering up a plant.
And yeah, so like a rock crusher plant, you work on the electric motors with like the armatures and you rip those right open and diagnose them and stuff like that.
So we don't take the motors apart, just because you get into a whole nother realm.
I thought that would have been electromechanical. maybe.
But everything
crazy.
leading up to it, you
Yeah.
know, like we have actually done a lot recently with outfitting our company with doing what they call the 70B protocol. There's three code books in the electrical field: 70E, 70, and 70B. And 70B used to be a code that was written as when you do electrical maintenance, and it was always a recommendation. Well, in 2023, they changed it to it shall be. And when they changed that word to shall be, now you have to maintain it and
Yeah.
show records and show progress and show baseline where it's been. So we have actually spent a lot of money and a lot of effort educating and doing a lot of work with that. We have infrared scanning machines. We can scan, electrical motors. We can find hotspots. That's a really, really good way of finding something that's getting ready to fail or has failed.
Okay.
Then we have meggers or high pods where we can, induce high voltage across something and actually measure the resistance in the insulation that's left in it.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So
But that 70B is also reaching now into investment properties. So any properties that are 4 or more doors, like we've worked with condo associations where there could be 56 units. What they're finding is the insurance companies will not renew them unless they've had this test done, these infrared tests done.
Yeah.
So because it's now it's far reaching. It's not
Yeah.
just the industrial. It's not just commercial.
Good for business for you guys.
Good for business for us. Yeah. Yeah. Good for business for us.
and it protects insurance companies too, because they look at it like a piece of equipment. Like my favorite one I like to use is like the old air conditioner outside, right? Someone put it in 20 years ago. There's a service disconnect next to it, but no one has maintained that disconnect. No one's turned it on and off. It's never been a problem. Nobody touches it, right? So you, as the owner of a commercial property, send out an HVAC guy to work on it, and he goes to turn off the disconnect, and it blows up. Who's at fault?
Right.
Is the HVAC guy because he didn't know what he was doing? Is it the landlord because now with 70B says you should have maintained this piece of equipment? Where's your record showing that that equipment's been scanned and in operational order?
Wow. So we can see these infrared scanners becoming a plumbing thing too, kind of thing.
Well, it just comes down to just maintenance of your facility. It's going to come down to who's liable.
Right. Everybody wants to mitigate risk, right?
Yeah.
So you're scanning these things and you're looking for problems before they happen. And insurance companies are looking, saying, look, you've got a problem. You got to fix that before I'm willing to reinsure you. So it's again, mitigating risk and where you're going to place that blame and who's going to pay for it. That's all it is.
Wow.
And it's easier to, maybe easy is not the word I want to use, but
Less complicated.
it's faster ROI for like a gravel yard to have us scan it, because their downtime is not so much worrying about the renewal of the insurance, because that still gets done anyways, because they have to have certain inspections, but because they have MSHA and everything else to check on them. But one of the things that they have is like they have downtime. Can you imagine a facility that's got 10 ground guys running payloaders, 20 trucks running in and out, and all of a sudden now your plant doesn't make gravel anymore because you didn't scan something and didn't know you had a potential failure, and the part that you need has a 2-week lead time.
Wow.
So,
Yeah.
Our scans for something like that starts at like, $1,500, I think, and that's cheap insurance.
Yeah.
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 For-
If you scan it and inspect it, how much liability do you have if you miss something in the scan? Or is
We
that
can only scan what we can see.
okay?
So we present all the images. So the gun we have actually is pretty neat, because it actually has a pretty extensive software that goes with it, and it shows 2 images side by side, one of them being what you and I see and what it looks underneath thermal. And then it gives you all the readouts for it and recommendations
Oh, okay.
when you should scan it next. It'll actually see if you have a rise in, say, the ambient temperatures, let's say it's 75 degrees, but you got a component that's like 200. It'll even tell you right on the bottom, you should rescan this within 6 months.
Okay. Wow.
So it knows that much.
Or he'll look at it, with his expertise and his background and be like, we're not just going to restand that. We need to do something about it before it becomes, a problem.
Right. Okay. That makes sense.
It's a lot of unique stuff, I love this work, and I love this job. Like I can't. I have a hero complex like no one could believe when it comes to this.
It's true.
That's
So
great.
true.
I go in there and I get things to go round you around again.
Yeah, that's awesome being the guy, right? And just I don't know. There's always that standing like joke or story about the guy when he hit it with the hammer and then he charged 10 grand. And he's like, well, can we have an itemized list? Yeah, 10 $10 for the hammer.
And 900, something dollars to know where to hit it.
Yeah, to know where to hit it. Yeah. So
Yeah.
that's kind of cool. And
I love our team too. Our team is doing such a great job of learning how to do that too.
yeah.
Like it's actually really really fun to watch. Like I've got one apprentice now that's been with me. She'll be coming up on what 3-4 years.
3 years.
3 years. Caitlin, and she's getting to the point where she can get to diagnose, stuff like, well, what is it? Do you think it's this? I'm like, it probably is. Let's try that, And watching even Luke, how much he's grown to, okay, well, I know in the past I've done X, Y, and Z, and this is what has fixed it, and it's not fixing it this time, so let's go backtrack. And he can really dial in what's going on. Like, our whole team is really, it's no longer just a me thing. It's more of a, okay, we're breeding our own culture inside of this, and that's kind of one thing that I've really really enjoyed with this. Like even us, we do the weird things, like we give unlimited paid time off.
Unlimited
Oh, wow.
paid time off.
I've read articles about that because Europe does some of it, right? And they say that your employees will take less time off,
Yeah.
and it actually saves the company money. Because, you're always going to have somebody that abuses it. You guys are small, right? So that would be evident, but like, it's a huge benefit, but they don't abuse it.
They don't abuse it at all.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, they don't abuse it to the point where sometimes I have to tell them, like, you don't look well, go home.
Or you haven't taken any time off yet this year. It's August. Maybe you should take some. It's
Yeah.
okay.
Right.
Yeah, and we have a shared schedule. Like if we have as the owners, we don't really get a week off. That doesn't happen. But we can get like a Friday, Monday, and I'll be like, okay, it's on the calendar that we're going to be gone Friday and Monday. And Luke being the other journeyman, like, you can't take those days.
Because then the company's closed.
Like, give me some grace somewhere in here. And then, it works out well. Like even Caitlin, from this day, since she started, we took one 4-day trip one time around 4th of July when she first started. And right after that, she has taken every 4th of July because she knows that week we're already closed for 2 days. So she's only interrupting the schedule by 3 days. Like she's that
Right.
conscious
Right.
about it.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember having a partner at Woodstock Building Associates, and he had really little kids at the time, so he would take the Christmas break off,
Yeah.
and I was like, me too. You don't have to. And there was a lot of times where we would take the same vacation off, so that there's just like, WBA knew that whole crew didn't need to be put somewhere, that kind of thing. And it was kind of nice that way to, we just like both jump back into the projects that we were on our list,
In my prior life, though, I had a job, it was like if you didn't use your time, you lost it. So everybody, of course, is then scrambling. At the very end of the year, you have tons of people scrambling to take the same amount of time off. And that, is not a good situation to be in. So we
Right.
found by doing this, we don't have any of that. None of those problems.
Plus, you don't have to close.
We don't have to close.
Right.
I mean, we do close, for some of the major holidays, and whatnot, of
Yeah.
course. But generally speaking,
Yeah, but it must be nice to go on vacation still knowing you're making money.
Yes.
It's my
Training.
biggest fear actually is not so much making the money. It's making sure we're there for our clients. Like I said, we're taking care of gravel yards. Now you could see some of these people, they may make $50,000 a day with the material.
Right.
One day's a lot of money,
Right.
and it multiplies real fast.
Yeah. And some of them will work Saturday, Sundays too.
Most of
And
them work at least Saturday.
So you're on emergency calls and stuff like that too, right?
Especially some of our really, really good customers, they have my personal cell phone. It doesn't go to the office. They call me, and then I'll just like, hey, Jen, we need to get here now.
All right, I'll call and cancel this. I'll move this. I'll do that. Yeah.
Yeah.
And those clients, they're really good to us, and we're really good to them. It's just, we've built a culture right from the ground up with that. And just like the unlimited paid time off, we've always been where people want to come to work.
Yeah.
Caitlin's
Yeah.
never called out in 3 years.
Wow.
No,
That's awesome.
no.
That's awesome. Yeah, when they want to go to work, it's, vacation's irrelevant. We had, a couple places that I worked, the time would just keep compiling your vacation time. Sick time, usually most contractors, if they give you sick time, they would pay it out at the end of the year. And it was like a bonus. If you don't use it, then we'll just give you the lump sum.
Right.
Of whatever, days it was. And we had carpenters that had like months worth of time off still on the books because they'd rather be there,
Right.
rather work it. It's great when you find someone with that passion.
Yeah.
And they don't. And then some of it was control. Well, I don't want anyone else on this project. I don't want to do it. That
Yeah.
kind of thing. Yeah, and we've all had projects like that for sure. Jet, let's talk a little bit more about you, like your background. Where'd you go to high school? Are you
I'm a Killingly High School graduate.
okay? So you're local.
I'm local. I graduated in '96, so I'm a little older than him. My background is in higher ed. I spent 26 years in financial aid offices.
Oh wow.
So, community college, public, private, grad, undergrad, I ran financial aid offices. So I did that for 26 years. And
Wow.
when COVID hit, he was working for a company and he got laid off. Nobody wants people in their house. Gravel banks have shut down because businesses aren't running. So, he got laid off and I'm like, this kind of worked out. He started the business up and I'm still doing my higher ed thing and I'm doing the side hustle, with the business. I'm kind of, I'm doing the books and and it's just him and it's okay and
Yeah.
it's working. And then, the customer list keeps growing and the customer list keeps growing and it's more than he can handle. So, okay, we get an apprentice. And that's great. Okay, well, that's getting to be more than they can handle. And it's getting to be more work than I can do. I'm getting to a point where I'm like, I can't work 2 full-time jobs
Right.
now. This is becoming full-time. So I'm like, do I stay with what I know or do I switch it up? And I switched it up. It actually went good because, you do something for that long. You get I got a little burnt out.
Yeah.
So it kind of came at the right time for me. And then I went full-time to the business, and then we hired Luke, and then we got another apprentice. We got Sadie, and it just...
Don't let her
Keep
make
going.
it sound like it was that easy, neither. By no means was it that easy.
was-
She literally sat me down like, so what are you going to do for me? What are we talking about benefits? what are we going to do about salary? I'm like, you're the one paying yourself. Like, that doesn't even make sense.
You're doing the bookkeeping. You know how much you can pay.
And it really was. Well, you didn't ask me yet. I want to know what I'm going to make. What's the bottom line? I'm like, really? We're really sharking this like this now. Thank you.
Just a little.
I love it.
It wasn't like, oh, I can't wait for you to work tomorrow. No, it wasn't that way at all.
It was hard because, you're used to doing something and you're used to that steady income constantly.
Yeah.
It's guaranteed. I was a salary employee, and now I'm switching over to this. And granted, I knew we were busy and we had the work, but that safety net's it's gone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that was really hard for me to step away from.
Yeah.
I mean, it's worked out, but that was hard.
Yeah, when I went out on my own as a carpenter, my wife said, as long as you deposit X amount of dollars every week into our bank account, God bless you. Have fun. And it
Yep.
ended up it was actually kind of a daunting number at first. It's like, oh boy. But then, you kind of, you raise your expectations and you just go for it, keep grinding away, and then eventually, the business bank account grows and you still deposit in, that much more money or, and you can reinvest and whatnot. So,
Yeah, we just set it up kind of like automatic,
Yeah.
We even got to the point where we outreached a little further and we bought a rental property as like an Airbnb we set up in Laconia.
Oh yeah.
So we wanted to kind of diversify a little bit and have that as another stream of revenue. So we have one right now, right in Wares Boulevard, and we're hopefully going to do another one in a couple of years.
how many rooms is it?
It's just 2-bedroom, 2-bathroom,
2-bedroom.
but anything on the water is ridiculous money.
Yeah.
It's just
Yeah, but you also will get ridiculous money for to rent it.
Oh yeah,
It's just a matter of having it up front, you know.
right. It's taking the initial hit for the first year to build that capital so it can autopilot.
Yeah.
You know, and having a good management company, because we have a company called Stay Space managing it for us, and they've been phenomenal. Like at first, it was really daunting. They're like, "Yeah, we're gonna take, you know, this much percentage off the top." And I'm like, "Are you kidding me?" Yeah, like, but
Right.
really, you know, this takes a lot off your plate. I'm like,
Took everything off our plate.
And you're many miles away.
Yeah.
For when they need an electrician.
And you own it in snow country, so
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
Yep. And it's been good. It's been good. I'd like to do another one somewhere else, maybe Greenville or something like that, in Maine, Moosehead area.
More snow.
More snow. I like to chase snow.
There's actually not. There hasn't this year, the exception, but Laconia hasn't had a ton of snow. So you know, it's at its busiest in the summertime.
Yeah.
You know, so to go somewhere that or pick some place up that's kind of like the polar opposite, where it's at its busiest in the wintertime, might be kind of fun.
Yeah. Yeah, that's cool. Sounds like we're sitting across from a couple of serial entrepreneurs.
Yeah, I was gonna say when you decided to leave your full-time job, I mean that's the sign of an entrepreneur, right? Most would get scared and then not, right? And so
Leaving what's comfortable, that
Yeah.
consistent money.
Leaving what's comfortable and consistent. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, and at the time, at the last job I left, I was also working for the states. You had state benefits,
Oh,
and
yeah.
everything
Oh,
else
yeah.
too. And it's like, you know, when you're working for yourself, benefits they're hard.
yeah,
They're expensive.
Yeah.
So, you know, to go from all that to this, but like I said, it's been not without headaches, but it's a different kind of headache and a different kind of stress, you
Yeah.
know, when you're doing it for yourself.
Yeah.
It's been fun. Like I said, we're about, 2/3 now industrial, about a third residential.
Yep.
We've probably got over about 180 residential customers that
Oh,
we've
wow.
serviced over the last couple of years. Some of them repeat customers, you know, depending on what they've
Yeah.
got going on.
Yeah.
They're great at spreading word of mouth. You know, if they've got somebody, an electrician, I can't tell you how many times I've talked to somebody on the phone and they're like, "You picked up the phone. You called us back." And
Yeah.
how much you hear that. And they're thrilled to share that with, you know, their neighbor, their friend, anybody else and say, "Hey, I got an electrician who's going to talk to you."
yeah,
Yeah.
You know, so we build that clientele pretty quickly. The industrial side, they don't want to share you because when they go down,
yeah.
they want to know that you're there.
Right.
And I get that, you know, but so you can grow the residential side a little faster.
But having these two-man crews, right? It's pretty
Yep.
much two-man crews. That it kind of keeps you flexible. You know, I remember when actually Woodstock Builders went to that same model where you used to have like framing crews that could be 4 and 6 and stuff like that, and then he made it like for a while, you know, these two-man crews that could join together when needed for bigger projects, but be
Right.
pulled off for those emergencies, those quick fixes, or you know, we're closing on this house, we need a punch list done, that kind of stuff. So
Yep.
And ours happened to be male, female, and it wasn't planned. It's just, you
Yeah.
know, when we went, because we partnered with Ellis and we go
Yeah.
through them for their, you know, our apprentices. And when we'd interview, it's just the women stood out in these particular instances. You know, we picked up Caitlin as a senior. We picked up Sadie when she's a junior, now senior.
yeah,
And it's just the way it worked out. So we have, two-man crews that are male, female.
Yeah.
And they all have their strengths and weaknesses, you know. The women tend to be more organized. You know,
Shocking.
right? Exactly. You know, and the men tend to, you know, they can handle some of the heavier stuff. Some of that wire that they handle on the industrial side is ridiculous.
yeah.
So they work out really good. It's a nice balance.
Yeah. We'll talk a little bit about your apprentices, and I'll pick on Sadie a little bit now. How much time do you get with them when they're at school? So, like, how does that cycle go?
So they have an academic cycle, and they have their shop cycle. As a senior, when they're in the shop, they have their shop cycles. They can spend 100% of it
Oh, wow.
with us.
So they don't even go to school.
They don't
just
have to go to
you
school. They
guys.
can come to us. Now, Sadie's involved in everything. You know, she's
Yeah,
basketball and
sports,
golf
yeah.
and, you know, student government and all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
So we work around that. But other than that, she's with us all the time.
Yeah.
And as a junior, when they come to us as a junior, we get 3 days.
3 days. Okay.
3 days out of
still
the
a
shop
lot.
week. It's
Yeah.
still a lot, yeah.
And that's so. Ellis Tech now goes a week on shop, a week on academics, a week on, or
No, it's about 3.
3. Okay, so they're doing that back.
About
I
3, yeah.
they've changed it up quite a few times since I was there.
They've changed it in the time that we've gotten
yeah,
apprentices with us.
Yeah, and it's always a tough balance to get at because, especially like when they have shop night. I don't know if you remember shop night, but in architectural, masonry, and carpentry, those are big because, or almost all of them, it was big because you were putting your like big annual project up and you have to get it done. Well, if you don't end on that cycle where shop night occurs, you're trying to finish it like a month ahead of time, or whatever it is. And I just remember that. And it was always this big fight. Like the seniors always wanted, this is like my epic senior project is going to be, on display. We should be right up till shop night, that kind of thing. I don't know, was electrical like that?
Yeah.
No.
I'll follow your rabbit, but we never had anything like that. As a matter of
They
fact,
do Dazzle Light Parade now.
they do the Dazzle Light Parade, but
Oh,
that
cool.
was not a thing back then. Yeah,
No.
We're going way.
So they build a float for the Razzle Dazzle Light Parade?
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
I've been in that for so many different floats.
Yeah, I used to do a lot of it with scouts.
Yeah.
My boys were in scouts, and that was always a good time. But yeah, all the endeavors we try to get into, like, we say that we keep looking at places up north all the time, and the cutting point for me is I've been slowly working on my pilot's license.
Oh,
Well, that's cool.
So once I break through that envelope, then I'll look at something south. Because my biggest thing is, like, if we got a rental property that's vacationing, I want to be able to get there within one day.
Yeah.
So if I can't get there within one day, I don't want to go through all the headache of having to, getting time off already is a huge
And
project.
prefer not to drive.
Like Laconia right now, we can drive there in 2 hours and 20 minutes.
Yeah. It's not,
Unless you forget your keys, then it's 7 hours.
well, see, you need to hide a key.
We literally had just bought it. We were changing out the locks to a digital lock, and we pulled off the exit. We're 15 minutes from the house. I'm like, did you bring a key? Did you bring a key?
No, I would have broke the door down. I would have been like, no, we're not going. I'll deal with the cost.
Well, I'm like, let's go back tomorrow morning. He goes, no, we're going to do it tonight. And I'm like, really? All right.
Broke out some 80s ballads, put it on the radio, started singing out loud. And the going joke is we got all the way back to the house. We grabbed the key and we grabbed the bag of Doritos. So we always say we came back for the Doritos and started back out.
It's a good story.
That hell of a Dorito.
No salad. Doesn't start with salad,
Nothing
right?
starts with salad. But yeah, we did all that. I would love something down south later, but I want to be able to do it in one trip.
Gotcha.
So you hope to buy a plane,
Yes.
rent a plane?
Was there?
I'd love to buy a plane. My biggest obstacle right now is I've got all the points where I can fly solo around the airport. Now I'm into the navigation part. Well, those lessons are no longer like little 2-hour lessons. They can be 4, 5, 6 hours at a time. And when you start renting a plane, that adds up fast.
Oh yeah.
Well, not for nothing. You look at what's happened.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm going to applaud them for trying to give them more training.
Yeah. It adds up fast. So I'm like, for ROI, I look at everything as a return on your investment.
Yeah,
right?
you have to.
Yeah.
So I'm like, do I really want to spend that much money on renting a plane? Because the same amount of money I'm going to rent a plane, I could own a plane.
Hmm.
You
But then
know?
you got to pay to have it.
But at the same,
Docked,
so the
right?
average cost to maintain a plane is between $10,000 to $12,000 a year, including the payment on it. So
Including payment and the payment to the airport or whatever.
right. So
Yeah.
if you're at 10 grand, right, and I'm doing a lesson that costs $1,000, that's only 10 lessons a year.
Yeah.
So I could own the plane.
So you can buy one before you're even allowed to fly it.
Yes.
Nice. Isn't there like?
Yeah, I mean, think about all these people that own jets. They don't fly them. They have a pilot.
No, I get it. I just it was just kind of a cool concept. But the
Watch Landman. They turn around and says, well, they don't lock up planes. You can hotwire a plane like that. But you got to learn how to fly and land it.
yeah, that's true. Would you expand your states that you do electrical work in?
Oh, I have. I'm licensed in Connecticut, Massachusetts, New Hampshire. We're talking about the idea of Maine.
What's wrong with
after that.
Rhode Island?
Bro, too small over there.
I wanted to Rhode Island.
I don't want to.
We get calls pretty
Yeah, you're
regularly
local.
because we're so close.
Yeah.
You know, and it would be nice to be able to service those folks because if you're calling us, there's a need. You know,
I mean, there's like 7 or 8 people there that make.
I don't have a gold cross on my neck. I mean, let's get realistic. Automatically, I fail the first inspection.
Well, the thing is that once you get the license, there's you have to go take a certain number of credits every year to maintain. So Connecticut, you have to renew every year. Massachusetts is every 2. New Hampshire is every 3. And then if you add on a Rhode Island or you add on a Maine, we also got to take that balance so he's not spending all his time in the classroom.
Right.
He's
Now, do the electricians have to go through all that as well, or just the
the
company?
electricians.
Yeah, see, that's what it was like. I was a paramedic for like 8 years, and yeah, sometimes you get reciprocity, but a lot of times not.
So we got reciprocity. Adam got reciprocity into New Hampshire,
Okay.
but you still have to take the credits to maintain that
Right.
particular license. So, it's an effort. It's an effort. Luke is registered in Connecticut. Caitlin should have enough apprentice hours before the year is out where she can sit for her journeyman's license in Connecticut. And Sadie's going off to college, so after the summer we'll lose Sadie, and she's going to go to college for construction management.
Oh, well.
Oh wow.
So it's kind of staying with the same idea.
Yep.
Yep. I hope she finishes her hours out. I hope that works out for her because she's got a lot of potential for being a really good electrician.
Yeah, she does.
She
Yeah.
pays attention a lot. She understands her surroundings, and that's what I tell everybody all the time. You could ask any one of the people that work with us. They're like, you can make all the mistakes you want as long as you don't get hurt, because we can always fix mistakes.
Right.
You can always and you learn from it because nobody wants to do something twice.
Yeah.
Nobody.
Yeah.
I don't care who you are.
Especially
You
if you
don't
get
wanna do it.
burned.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so funny how sometimes you hear about a mistake somebody made, and how society kind of poo-poos it. I'm like, I'd much rather have that person that's been through that
Right.
than the one that just got lucky and didn't make that mistake or whatever, that kind of thing.
You gotta be okay with the failure, especially as the entrepreneur thing, right?
Yeah,
You
yeah.
gotta make mistake after mistake after mistake, and you make a mistake this big and you learn this much from it, and you adapt.
Yeah. Yep. Adapt and conquer. I believe that's a creed somewhere.
Probably is.
It's the Marines.
The Marines.
So I'll pick on Sadie a little bit because so Sadie is Michelle Murray's daughter, who's the gym teacher at Ellis Tech, and she's been there forever, and she is a huge promoter of local events, Ellis Tech Kids, the students, the education, everything. She's always constantly working for them above and beyond what a gym teacher would ever be expected. And the fact that Sadie is doing so well, and I'm sure her other daughters are as well, but it's just really cool to see. And then to have Ellis Tech alum, doing the same thing for, pulling kids out of your alma maters and building them up and bringing them up. And that would be cool. She gets her journeyman, right? It would be her journeyman,
Yep.
and then goes to college, and then has that under her belt to go through college with.
The toughest part that she's gonna face is that comes down to sheer hours.
Yeah.
It's not like, and now I've never been to college, so please don't crucify me for this. But if you go to college and if you skip all the classes and pass the test, you still get credit for the class.
Right.
It's not how electrical works. You have to
yeah.
do the hours.
Yeah, attendance
you
is
need-
mandatory.
You need 8,000
I like to put it
hours
that way, yeah.
before you're even eligible for an exam. Like,
Right.
no ifs, ands, or buts. Don't pass go. Do not collect $200.
Yeah.
It doesn't work. So I hope she finds a way to do it. But going to college, and at the same time, it's going to take a very, very long time to get to that 8,000 mark. Where someone like Caitlin, she's going to come out of the box where school gave her 1,500. They allow her to double down basically while she's in school. So she, when did she start?
It was like January or February
Yeah, so
of her senior year.
So even February, March, April, May, June. So she got 5 months. She doubled down while she was working with me. So she'd probably get out of school with 2,000 hours. And then when they're allowed overtime hours. Where when I was apprentice, that didn't fly. You could only get 40 hours a week. That was it. You couldn't cheat the system.
Oh, wow.
So now she averaged 45 hours or 43 hours a week for the first 2 years. So, I mean, she really knocked out those hours in a hurry, and she's looking
And so before the year is out, she'll be able to sit.
for her exam.
That's awesome.
Before she's even 21.
Yeah.
Well,
Now, is this, so you need an electrician for every apprentice, right?
Right.
So,
1-to-1.
so once she becomes a journeyman, she can have an apprentice?
Right.
And is that, if she stays on, that's how you guys would expand, just keep doing that?
Right. Our goal, and we've talked this a couple times, we'd love to get 3 full teams on the field, and then me to oversee it and bid work.
Okay.
That would be like the perfect harmony for me. Not too big where, we turn into, a conglomerate that loses people's phone numbers. And
Right.
not so small that we can't handle someone that says, oh, well, I got to upgrade my, 3,000 amp service to a 6,000 amp service because we're going to do electric payloaders now, because that's going to be a real thing one day.
Yeah, we're not so big that we can't help the residential person that calls us up and says, hey, I need to upgrade my service.
Yeah.
I need this ceiling fan put in. We still want to be able to help out the local people in the community too,
Right, right.
and not lose sight of who our team is.
Yeah.
It's part of what makes us so good is that we're tight knit, and if you get too big, you lose that.
Yeah. And you get that nimble crew, where
Right.
they're experiencing everything, not just one thing. They're not just doing residential all year.
Right.
They get to jump on different projects, and it really expands their experience. You know what I mean?
And the numbers don't get so huge too. Like, we have the luxury of not being enormous. So like, when beautification for KBA calls up, says, hey, we get a project, we need to clean up the courtyards. Like, we took our whole team, including Jen, and we all went down to the courtyard for, like 6 hours and worked on cleaning up the courtyards. We went to the Grange. We had a team of 4 people painting the Grange. Like,
Nice.
we could do all those. When someone reaches out, where we do have enough volume behind us, where when Second Saturdays, we've sponsored the Second Saturdays, last 2 years?
Yeah, last couple of years.
And, other events like the music festival Adam put on
Yep.
from Chubby Dog.
He's doing
Yeah,
that
Small
again.
Town, yeah.
Shout out to Adam Rondo. He's gonna be doing that again this year.
He already asked her, can we sponsor it again? I'm like, yeah, we can
Yeah.
sponsor it again.
Yeah, I'm gonna be doing reads for him on this. So
Nice.
yeah. that'd
Yeah,
be
so
cool.
we try to help out locally. Like I'm heavily involved in the Killenly Business Association. We joined the Chamber of Commerce, so we try to give back, not only network, but try to give back as much as we can too.
Nice.
Like, everybody asks, like, oh, you're out there chasing money. No, I'm actually not. The chase is actually the growing with the community, the growing with the people that like you like them, and you work well together, right? The money's the byproduct in the end of the day.
Right,
If
right.
you're doing it right, that's the byproduct.
Yeah.
Because you just set up the values, like, oh, here's my value, and if you appreciate my value, I'll appreciate your time. Because
Yeah.
that's really what comes down to, is you're selling time.
Most people, money doesn't. It usually won't get you out of bed every day for 30 years.
No.
Like, there's just, like, you think of a career of how long it could be. You're already doing one for 26.
Right.
You know what I mean? So you just think about from the time you're 18 to 65 or whatever year your goal is to retire. Like, money will eventually stop getting you out of bed. It's the other stuff. I've wanted to do this since I was in first grade.
Yeah, how many people
that
can
kind of
say
stuff.
that,
I
you know?
know. That's incredible. I still did it. No, I think I
Right.
found my calling, the real estate thing. I love working with people. Real estate is I love it, and it's a great vehicle, so I can work with people and whatnot. So to me, it's that I've found it. Like, when I was a carpenter, I always felt like there was something missing. I wasn't, around people enough, alone on a job site, and it wasn't for me, and now, I feel like I can have more clients and more time with people. And so, that I'm psyched to go. And when someone calls, said, hey, I want to buy a house. Hey, I want to sell a house. Oh, I'm coming. When are we doing? Let's schedule it,
Yep.
So, no, I get that. And that's really cool to see how passionate you are and how much you give back to the community. And you're right. It's like money is the byproduct if you're doing what you love.
Right, like, perfect example, you doing all this, like, this is all you on your back. You guys team together and have people like us in here and have this moment, like, it's because of you putting the effort in and you giving back, and your energy, your time, your space, all of that comes down to how much effort you guys put in, and, kudos to you guys.
Thank you. Thank you for saying that. It's cool when someone appreciates
Sorry.
that. You already gave me alcohol. You can do whatever you want. But also, I mean, I've seen you at June Norcross with your boys. You volunteer for Scouts too, and
Yeah.
that's another really rewarding thing because they have to do community outreach as Scouts, and that's like, to me, that just goes right along with all of these things that kind of go with building a successful local business. It's like you have to ingratiate yourself to the community,
Yeah, we're not the not the showing shade at anybody, but we're not the one guy out of a van, that picks with the phone when he feels like he needs more beer money type thing. It's
Right.
we do this. We have health insurance for our team. We have workman's comp. We have all the credentials that go with it, and we have her working behind the scenes. And I can't get enough credit to her. If it wasn't for her, we would not have the growth we have. She is so well of making everybody feel, and not feel, but also show that they're important to us just as much as they need to be important to themselves, to be like, I need this done. This is my problem. Please, can you take care of it? And it doesn't throw to the wayside. It's not a Post-it that's in someone's van that throws it on the floor like, oh, I forgot to call back so-and-so. No, she gives, a date, a time. Once the bid is done, you get it in an email. You know what you're looking at for a cost, what you're looking for a deposit, when they're going to show up, how long they're projected to do the job, when it's expected to be done. If anything comes up that's a surprise, before anything comes to hey, I bid $500, but here's an invoice for $1,500. That doesn't happen with us. It's like either we eat it because it's something we did wrong, or it's something we found and we told you before we moved forward. I can't stand that. Hey, we only said $500, but I'm sorry, but it's gonna be $2,000 and it's already done, so you owe us that money.
Oh, yeah, that's a horrible phone call to make.
It's makes my skin crawl. Like, I can't understand how that works, but I refuse to do that. I'll eat it before that happens.
Yeah.
Well, you'll get more business out of it in the long run when
Right.
they're treated that way, right?
Back to doing the work and the money's the byproduct, right?
Yeah.
And
You treat people the way you want to be treated.
Yeah.
That would,
The golden
like
rule.
you said, that makes your skin crawl. Ours is, I'm like, and I can't imagine doing that to somebody else. If I don't like it, why are they?
Right. Yeah. I love it. Yeah, living by the golden rule, and just, if you make a mistake, or if it, something you didn't see ahead of time, it happens. As a carpenter, one time I didn't measure the height of the door.
That
It's like-
doesn't shock me at all.
it's
Are you-
this tall.
Well, you did one of these.
vertically challenged person
I
like
used to do that all
myself.
the time.
She still does. Don't let her fool you.
You walk into, it was an entryway, exterior door, and I can remember just walking in, measuring the width, and calling in the specs of it, and door arrives. I take the old door out, go to put the new door in, and thunk up against the top. I was like, you idiot. So I had to reinstall the old door.
Of course.
And wait 4 or 5 days for the new door to come in with the right height. And, that other door, I still have.
Is it going to be a Jeff Bezos door where it's your desk forever?
No, I believe I can use it when I upgrade my shed to a barn. So
Famous last word by every hoarder on the planet.
But he'll call you when he uses it in 30 years.
Exactly.
yeah, so there's been a plan for a new barn for a while, and it's just not happening yet. So, but when it does happen, the studio will be moved up to the loft, and we'll have a new studio too. So, wood shop downstairs. That'd be cool.
Very cool.
It's never ending, right?
Yeah. You can always use more space.
Isn't that the truth?
Said a hoarder.
You shouldn't talk. You can walk in my shed. How about you?
You can't walk in. You can. You can walk like sideways.
Like a shuffle. Awesome.
Yeah. No, it's awesome, and that makes Ellis Tech, so much nicer when there's all these, local avenues to send the kids and stuff like that. So
Yeah, our whole team's Ellis.
yeah,
I'm from Ellis. Luke's from Ellis. Caitlin's from Ellis. Sadie's from LS.
Plus, they do all the recruiting for you, right? Oh, you just have to interview them.
We just,
You know,
yeah, we
You're
interview,
not
we find the
hunting
person
on
who's the right fit.
Indeed, or you're not hunting on all these places to find them. You're just like, hey,
And you're
But you
kind of
know what?
molding them too to what Taylor.
We don't have to find them. We get probably 2-3 calls a week from people asking us if we can take on an apprentice. You know, from various schools, some folks who, you know, have graduated and they're still in their apprenticeship. And like I said, because of the ratio, we can't take, you know,
Yeah.
more on. You're a 1-to-1. So it's like, no, I'm sorry. You know, eventually, but not right now. But yeah, we have people who call us on 2-3 times a week. We get phone calls for people looking.
Sounds like it's a great place to work.
It is.
'Cause, like, should I get my license?
We can't take you on. We don't have any room for another apprentice.
I would have some time in the classroom, I think, before Sadie leaves.
That's right. Yeah, we only got her for the summer, and then she's gone, and then at that point, you know, we might be able to take on an apprentice, but until
So is her college that far away that she wouldn't be able to work for you guys?
she's going to
or-
Keene,
oh,
I believe. I think that's last I up there. I think that's last I heard.
Where's that?
New Hampshire.
New Hampshire.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
Yep. And when you do your apprenticeship, you have to do your hours in the state that you're trying to get
Right.
licensed in. So it's not like she can hook up with, you know, somebody in New Hampshire, an electrician in New Hampshire, and do hours and use those towards Connecticut. It doesn't work that way.
Now, do your hours ever just go away if you don't do it in a certain time frame? Like, will
I
she
don't-
lose those if she takes 4 years off?
You can
I-
answer that one.
I actually don't know that because I've never tried it.
Yeah.
There's usually an expiration date on them.
There is to a point like you can't be, you know, a 20-year-old, you know, 20 years in the trade apprentice.
Oh, okay.
Once you're a
Yeah.
registered apprentice, you have so much time to actually get your license. Because I was actually on a job at the Basketball Hall of Fame where we had a couple electricians that were on that job that had been apprentices forever, and their hours had expunged. You know what I mean? They had
Yeah.
reached your 8,000. You can't get more. You know, it's not like you get bonus points. This is not extra credit at this point. And the labor board called up because it's, you know, certified payroll at the time, and they're like, "Yeah, your guys have got more hours than you can get, and they need to go home."
Wow. So they got to go take the test.
They didn't want to take the test. They just
That's weird.
You can move.
I don't really understand that mindset at all. But
there's a lot of people that fail though. You know, the passing ratio is not that high. It's probably only like 50%.
oh, okay.
You know, it's a grueling test. It's not fun by any means.
Yeah, a lot of those state tests, they have a lot of statistics where the second time is more, more successful.
I don't know. I've never taken it a second time.
Oh,
Oh, it's not like marriage?
can they take it a second time? Is it something
Yeah,
like
you
if they
can.
fail Saturday, they can go the next Saturday?
Each state is different. I
But
think
you
it-
can take it multiple times.
Yeah,
There's nothing, you know, as long as you want to continue to pay to take it.
right. I'm sure it's an
Yeah,
expensive.
it all comes down to money. How much
Yeah,
money you want
there
to
you
spend?
go. There you go.
Always comes down to money.
Yeah.
You want to spend more money? You want to spend more time? Go for it. But
Mm.
you know, I've heard of people failing it 3-4 times.
Hmm.
Oh,
You
Yeah,
know,
that's-
it's designed to trip you up on purpose.
Yeah.
right. Which in real life, nothing's the same every day. You
Right.
know, it's like the only thing consistent in life is change, right?
That's the truth.
Yeah. So I get it. Where? So you're expanding into different ones. You don't want to go Rhode Island. What's New York like? Would you ever go that way? Probably not. That's 3 hours
So,
away.
now the funny thing is, New York State, I don't believe, actually has an electrical license.
Really?
New York City.
does, not the state though.
Huh.
There's only actually 28 states in the country that have electrical licenses.
Otherwise, you can just go
Yep.
pull wire, do
Yep.
what you want. Wow.
Yeah, you can
Natural
burn houses
selection.
down all day long. No one cares.
Darwinism at its finest.
Exactly. Exactly.
Oh man, that's crazy.
Yeah. And
Do
it-
you think? I don't, but do you think that we overregulate in the states that are licensed?
Well, just like anything else, I mean, any trade you want to take up, right? If it's unlicensed, being unexamined, what's its value?
Right.
It's decreased, right?
Well, I went through it with carpenters. When times are good, everybody puts a magnet on their truck and says, "I carpenter."
I can't build.
Oh, me too. No,
You
don't
can
ask me to change an
You
outlet.
can
It's not
Excel
gonna happen.
spreadsheet till the day is long.
Yeah, don't ask me to do anything electrical. It's not going to happen.
Yeah.
I will kill somebody.
It's always fun when
Or
I give her
myself.
my descriptions for each job over the phone. You did what? You know, how?
Just text me so I can copy and paste.
Yes. Yeah. I tightened the insulated bugs in the pecker head of the electrical motor. I'm like, what?
Oh, you didn't understand that?
Can you give that to me in English? Because I know who's reading this is not understanding that either.
Yeah, it is brutal. And then on top of it, our trade has like 7 different words for the same thing all the time.
I remember that in AutoCAD, learning AutoCAD for design work. It's like the instructor that I had, I took some classes at Three Rivers, and, AutoCAD 14 at the time had a book 2 inches thick, and there was like 15 avenues to do the same type of line segment or whatever, and he would teach you all of them. And I'm like, why are we doing this? And that was like mind-boggling. Like, why do we have to remember all 15 ways? Like, teach us, a few of them, and
Well, like
pick
he'll
your
give me,
favorite.
he'll get ready to go on a job, and and he'll give me a list of material, and I'll order it from a vendor. Well, that list of material, same material, looks completely different from the list from another vendor because they all call it something different.
Oh yeah.
So
yeah.
he's calling it something, Luke might call it something, and then this vendor's calling it this, and this vendor's calling it this, and this vendor's calling it this, and you have to figure out that they all match, and that's such a pain. It's like, can't at least the vendors have the same name for, and they don't.
Well,
Wow.
Don't let her fool you. She's savage. Like, she has a spreadsheet of every single part we have bought in the last 5 years.
Yeah.
She knows what we paid for them. She knows how much they cost.
Yeah.
She knows what it is down to the foot, down to the wire nut. And then we'll get, like, flyers from our vendors. Hey, this is on sale of the week. Come get it. And she's like, we paid less last week for it. And we'll, like, call them out on it. Like,
Sometimes.
Well, I mean, I would say most businesses and entrepreneurs fail because they're not good with the almighty dollar. You
Yeah.
know, that's money management is the death of so many business people,
Yeah.
and small businesses is not managing their money right. Very few people that are passionate and they go out on their own fail because they're not good at something. It's usually that money management.
I'm not good at her job. That's what it comes down to. Is I'm not good at her job, but she's awesome at her job.
And I'm not good at yours.
That's awesome.
That's why we work well together. Because I'll talk to him and he just sits there and nods, and he'll talk to me and I do the same thing. We don't know what each other's talking about.
She'll have an Excel spreadsheet on every single job we've ever did. So we're up to, in 5 years, we're up to 1,900 invoices, and every single invoice will have.
Up to 2,100 invoices.
See, that's right.
Gotta know your numbers.
Yeah.
Gotta know your numbers.
And not one of them. She has a spreadsheet on every single one. She knows how many hours we spent on it, how much we bid the hours for, and how much it compared at the end. A lot of times the parts don't even come close to what we needed because it have to change and adapt on the fly. But she'd be like, all right, you're within budget. Or like, hey, you blew that budget out of the water. Try again. There.
Yeah, you don't get dinner tonight.
Yeah.
No soup for you.
Yeah. But she keeps everything in check to the point where I don't even we had to decommission a van because it was the one we bought when we first started, and we bought it used and had a bunch of miles on it, and it got to the point where it was tired. It wasn't worth putting money into. So I told her, says, listen, we got to get another van. You just tell me what we got to work with. She was like, all right, you got to do X, Y, and Z, and this is how you have to do it, and this is when you need to do it by, and this is how much you can spend. If you can make that work, you can have a van.
Yep. There you go.
And that was it.
Give the parameters. Now, when you give them a budget, it's like you can buy the van, but you also have to letter it, so you have to keep some money afterwards.
We do have to letter. We have one we need to letter right now.
Yeah.
It's right now. It's a matter of finding the time
Yeah.
to
Yeah,
get
you
it
can
lettered.
Lose it or not have it on site.
Right. Right.
Because working on a pickup truck is rough.
Yeah.
Can't hold enough material
Right. And just
or all the material.
there's so many incidentals you run across that you need. Today, we needed blue steak on forks. I would have never thought to throw that in my truck today, but today we needed them, and because we had the van, we had them.
Right.
Just little incidentals that add up over
Yeah.
and over and over.
Rolling inventory.
Yeah, I had enough of working out of a truck and a little landscaping trail with boxes on it, and I finally got an enclosed trailer, and set it up as a workshop, and it was just like everything's there. You never forget this or that. You're not putting it, trying to figure out what you need for the day and throw it in a pickup truck or whatever, and out of your garage. Just everything's in one mobile unit, and that's big. And then, like you were saying, you outfitted all the trucks with the same scanners and the same stuff. So like, if one day Sadie has to go with someone else or whatever, they all have the same setup and the same tools, and it's not some
Exactly.
oh, I forgot this, you know. So that's continuity through the business. That's awesome.
And I have my laptop. That's my backup tool. Although
Yep.
he had to force me to get that. You know, we lost power, and you know, I have an office at home, and lose power, and I lose my ability to do anything. And he's like, "You need a laptop." I'm like,
Because then there's been times that she can go right down 2 dogs, so on the
Yeah.
Wi-Fi, and still keep working.
"Yeah." I switch back and forth between 2 Dog and Chubby Dog.
Yeah, depending on.
Nice. Shout out to both local coffee shops.
Yep.
We definitely like going sitting in there. It's got a good vibe to work outside the office once in a while.
Yeah.
Get away. But it's been really, really good. Like I can't wait because we really, really strive for doing the service calls. You know, every electrician I come across is like, "Oh, I hate service calls." I'm like, why? "Oh, I hate them." I'm like, why? No one will give me an answer besides they just don't want to put in the effort of scheduling, because that part right there, you're really reliant on the customer. When can they allow you to come in and go work? You
Yeah.
know, like we got one manufacturing facility, and they only let us work on Fridays.
Drives me nuts.
But it's a consistent thing. I mean, you kind of always can plan for it.
Yes.
You know, if they call you, you know you're not going there on Monday.
But for a while there were 3 of them that only wanted us to come in on Friday, and it's like, I can't get you all in on the same Friday.
Yeah.
You know, you guys are gonna have to learn to share.
They were like on a revolving door. Like once a month, we're at each one,
Yeah.
back and forth.
That's great. So, as many businesses as I've been in or owned, my wife has zero want or need to be a part of them. So, like, talking about them at night is fine. Do you guys have any rules? Like, no bringing, no talking shop at home or anything like that?
There's no safety word.
Constant. We've literally been sitting on the beach, and I've got the laptop out, and, you know, and we're doing work, or we're bidding jobs, or or it's nonstop.
But if it doesn't feel like work to you, it's not.
You know, I
right?
don't have it on the snowmobile with me. You know,
Not yet.
you know, and there are little things like, you know, like he'll be like, you know, let me manage the field. That's where I excel. Let me do that, you know. And I'm like, okay, let me do my office thing. That's my thing. And you know, we both, as long as we allow each other, you know, that, then we can talk about it all that we want.
Yeah.
And from a business standpoint, the toughest part I came across is like perfect one example today. Someone referred us, and they had my personal cell phone number. And then I have the uncomfortable conversation, like, I hear your problem. Definitely take care of it. Here's what I prevent for a solution. But now you need to call the office. Once you give a customer that one more task, because they want one phone call, and they want all the problems to go away.
Yeah.
To get them to make that one more phone call, I wish I could find a way to incentivize them that all your problems will go away, but you got to make one more phone call.
Yeah.
And sometimes that leap is difficult.
Yeah, because he doesn't have the calendar in front of him to schedule it. He doesn't have, you know, everything that he needs to make that happen.
Right.
You know, a piece of paper, anything to write on, none of that. And it's like, you talk to me, and I can get you resolved.
You know, your W-9 forms, your certificate of insurance, and all those things that we go into an industrial facility that's going to require. And they're going to need all that, and I don't have that in the van.
Now, could you reverse it on them and say, stand by for my wife to call you? And
We
then
have done
kinda
that with
reverse-
some.
That was good. To reverse that so that it's someone reaching out to them.
Leslie said to me today, he goes, you're going to get a call from X, Y, and Z. And he's like, and if they don't contact you within this amount of time, here's their information. And
Yeah.
then I would contact them. So sometimes we will do that.
Have you tried adding her to the call? So
So
you can.
Laughing
Matt doesn't know how to do any of that.
do it. I know
smile
how
on
to
his
merge a
face.
call.
Look
I
at the
do.
smile.
It's just the coder, the tech guy.
You only have to learn it once.
you haven't worked with me yet. it's two different phone numbers, and I'm not sure how to do that. I guess I would have to learn how to do it.
Three-way call.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so you would there's features on Android or iPhone where you can, there's usually a plus or an add call, or if you go into a setting and you can physically type the number in and you can bring
See,
that
that's the
into
problem.
the
He
phone.
doesn't have my number memorized.
Typical non-field worker over here. Right?
Are you an engineer?
Hard hat inventor.
That's right.
Where does the oil filter go?
Oil's supposed to be filtered.
Supposed to change that? So, but yeah, I gotta find a way to bridge that gap and make that more fluent, because I don't want to give anybody more projects. Because there was one time when we first started doing a lot of work with generators and just doing that interlock system, right? And I'd ask the customer, like, just the simplest thing, like, just send me a picture of your electrical panel and we can save me having to go out, visit, look at the panel, take a picture of it, because they make 900 different panels and everyone's different and every interlock is different. Can you just take a picture of it? Ghost, gone.
Wow.
All I need is just send it in a text.
Yeah.
That's all you need to do. And that gap is just...
I think that gap is closing on its own. I think more people are more apt to text and do pictures rather than talk to you. I found that with, especially as the clients get, they're not really getting younger, but they feel like they're getting younger.
No, they're getting younger.
Still got to be over 18 to buy a house. So it's like, but the younger generations are more apt to do text and pictures rather than talk. And
We have some that only want to text,
yeah.
and I'm cool with that. That's fine.
Yeah.
Because our business phone number can take text,
Yeah.
which is really cool. And some of our really good customers that I've had for almost 10 years now before I started my own business, they just text automatically. I have this problem, not round you round, and we just go and like, okay, we'll be there in 45 minutes.
See if you could text her while you're on the phone with them.
Yeah.
Have them call. You know what a text message is?
You can't do that.
Are you one of these texters?
I absolutely am. I am the thumb like this. I cannot go to an iPhone Plus because my thumb's not long enough.
I have the same problem. In fact, I think I'm going to go back down to a smaller version.
I used to swipe.
I thought for a second there you were going to say you're still going, the 2 is A, B, C.
I remember that. Yeah, choose A, B, C, D, E, F. Yeah.
No, I'm not that bad. I'm not that bad. And it was funny because I can rewire a PLC, the size of the backdrop here, but, doing that technology of gapping that phone call is like the most challenging thing on the plan for me.
So we got this sickness, that went through the house, right?
Yep.
He needed to do a spreadsheet. It's awful. It took him hours to do a spreadsheet that I could have done in like 5 minutes.
Because I don't know how to use Excel, so I'm taking a piece of paper and I'm drawing like the grid, and I'm writing
I'm with
in.
you on that. My wife's an accountant. She does spreadsheets like it's her, like she breathes.
Yeah.
And she's taught me. I had a loan officer kind of teach me some tricks. But if you don't do it every day, it's like you can't. Yeah. So
It's not like riding a bike; it's bullshit.
No. But Google does wonders. Then you're like, but I don't have that box. I don't have that button. I don't have this.
Google is very helpful.
Yeah.
But we're getting there. We're getting there.
Yeah, 5 years in April.
nice. Congratulations.
Thank
The
you.
first 5 years is the hardest, right?
That's what they say.
That's what they say. So good for you guys. I don't see you having any issues reaching that goal. It seems like you guys got what you need to be successful for many, many years to come. And,
Yeah, we have a really, really good, solid client list that keeps us, pretty busy. We're always looking to take on more because we're always trying to make our teams get better. Because that gives everybody in that small group a little more breathing room. Like I had said before, like if I take a day off, like for the most part, Luke really needs to be on to kind
Vice
of
versa.
hold up the fort on that one. So if we get to the point where Caitlin gets her license, now that's 3 licensed people. So when we can really have that revolving door That would really be good. I wish I could find one universal weekend that, or at least a Friday and Monday when I say weekend, that no one has any problems. And I would love to be able to say, hey, everybody can have the time off. Like, for instance, like we're going to go to Laconia for Bike Week and go camping that week. Even though we have a place, we still rent it out anyways because,
Might as well.
yeah.
It's worth it. Yeah.
And Luke's like, oh, I'll see you up there. I'm like, yeah, we can't go at the same time. That doesn't work. He's like, oh, buzzkill. So I wish it was that easy, but it just takes, one phone call for one of our customers. It's really good to say, hey, everything's down and they need to find a new electrician. And then it's like, okay, now they want to kind of bounce back and forth between us. And then we're playing catch up. And I don't like getting caught in that crossfire.
Yeah. Yeah, it would be cool to kind of have that weekend. Even, I don't know, would you do a company-wide trip?
I would love to.
That.
I've talked to her a couple times about doing like a company-wide like snowmobile trip or something like that.
Yeah.
What we have done last year. So last year what we did was our place in Laconia, that's on Wares Boulevard. We gave each one of our employees
A weekend.
a weekend up there.
Oh, that's
So
awesome.
like, hey, take the lake house. We'll have a blast.
And the year before that, we took them on a fishing trip.
Yep. And probably going to do a fishing trip this year, alternate back and forth, where we do like 8 or 10 people out on a chartered fishing trip and catch our fill.
How many employees?
So we have Luke, Caitlin, and Sadie. So
Okay.
we usually do that and a couple clients with something like that.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I see what you're saying.
Yep.
That's awesome.
But I'd love to get up to that 10 mark. That would be awesome. Because we eventually, if we get to the point where we have 3 teams in the field, you're going to need help on the other end because you're stretched thin as it is sometimes,
Yeah, depending on the week.
especially Mondays.
Yeah.
Mondays and Fridays are absolute war zones.
Oh, sorry. We only do Mondays.
That's okay. That's okay. This is the fun
Podcasting.
stuff. This is the fun stuff.
That's good.
Makes it all worth it.
Right. Awesome.
Yep.
I mean, thank you so much for sharing so much and, coming here and talking about all this. Is a lot of people will hold these business practices close and tight and whatnot. And I'm really happy to see, the sharing and, and how much you guys give back and how much you're still, you're bolstering your alma mater and, giving back to where you came from, that whole thing.
Yeah. We really love this. I've been looking forward to this. I run into it, tips for tools.
Tips for tools.
He's like,
That's
"Hey, you wanna
another
come
great one.
You're like, hey, you want to come on the show? I'm like, I'd absolutely love to. And you're like, I was just waiting to hear from you. And you're like, all right, let's do this. I'm like, fantastic. I can't wait. This is going to be really, really cool.
Yeah.
You know?
For all the people out there, if you're watching, we have a list of people that aren't necessarily booked yet, but it's a list, and we just go in order and we put them on. So like when I get time to book people further out, and then we had this issue like this past week where we couldn't. Now we have to reschedule Brooklyn
That's
Cares.
going to be hard.
Well, so
It is.
they'll be out either in April. What's the next month after that? May.
May.
So, and that it's
And you're doing
tough.
the booking, huh?
I have the calendar in front of me. I get it. You wait until the calendar's in front of you, and you have a few hours to go over the list and start booking people. But sometimes people are waiting on that list a while to get on here, and thank you for your patience for anyone out there waiting.
But you know what? Kudos to you guys that you have the list.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
People
I don't want to
wanna
go
come.
without content. So it happened when someone cancels on us. When we have to cancel on them, both of them are heartaches to me because you promote it and you're trying to get to that spot, and the last thing you want to do is go back on. Oh, we're not going to be there Monday, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But everybody's been really, really gracious for that. Really patient with us. Because
Well, the idea of this is
Like-
be kind, right? Just
yeah,
You're
be
supposed to have
kind,
fun.
get to know the local businesses, and Cherries and everything around us. There's so much, so many great people I feel like to highlight in Northeast Connecticut, and I just felt like growing up, like we wouldn't even be on the weather map That was my grandmother always said.
So true.
I grew up in Plainfield, and she's like, Plainfield's never on that map. You know, and I
I'm
was
so
like,
upset about that. Not and just in general.
Yeah.
Like, why aren't we on there?
yeah, it's so funny.
It's like the
but-
whole northeast corner was just blank.
Well, yeah, they
Yeah,
probably
and-
wish we were part of Rhode Island.
I can't.
Oh no, come on. Are you from Rhode Island?
Yes.
Yeah, and I
Born
can't.
and raised.
Even when I worked on the coast, I can't tell you how many people said there's a Brooklyn in Connecticut.
Yeah.
It's just like we're just this. I know we're the quiet corner, but that doesn't mean ignore us.
Are you telling me, I'm living in Killingly, or I live in Brooklyn, and they're like, so that's over near New York, right?
Yeah.
Like, no, no, on the other side.
Yeah.
Yeah, but people that I said I'm from Rhode Island, they're like, oh yeah, like right, Long Island. I'm like, no, Rhode Island. Never heard of it. Shocking.
Yeah. So I just feel like, I just love the idea of getting more local business, more business.
Yep.
So.
Yeah, the interview you did with Hanks
With Amy.
with
Amy and Matt.
Yeah,
Yep.
that was really, really cool. They did a great job. I'm so pumped to see someone take it over and keep rolling with it like that.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
that was fantastic.
Yeah.
I feel
I'm
like,
looking forward to the outdoor seating.
yeah.
And if you've ever, I don't know how well you guys know Amy and Matt, but they are like surrogate children to the previous owners. This is literally like making it a third generation business. Just, with them taking over. Amy's been there since she was in high school. So
It's pretty neat.
Matt too. Matt was, that's where they met. So it's like a love story and this.
The amount of history
Yeah.
they personally have,
Right.
in that place is
they're-
amazing.
It's really cool. And they're putting that little bit of their own spin on it, but it's still Hank's, and it's
Yep.
it's still really cool. Every time I've been there since they've owned it, it's just hopping.
Mhm.
We go back and forth between that and 445 on a regular basis.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So.
I like the cheers effect when I go into those places.
Yep.
Hey, you regular? You got
Yep.
it. I'll be right there.
Yeah, I love going and seeing people I know at all the different places, and I think will make us stronger as a community overall. So
Yeah, if we continue to support each other, absolutely.
yeah,
You know, like lately I've been having my business meetings over at Hanks I'm working with another company through Andy Valancourt, where he does energy audits. And say, for instance, you had a big business that has a lot of electric motors and stuff like that, or a lot of lighting, and he comes in as an electrical engineer and audits the entire process. We put a bunch of metering equipment on, and we figure out where he can save you tons of electricity and money.
Oh,
that's awesome.
Matter of fact, we're going to do a trade show together coming up in April. That's he's like, he was like, we should have a theme. I says, all right, we should be like your rehab for your energy addiction. And they're like, I like it. Because his theory is like the cheapest electricity you can have is the one you don't buy.
Oh, okay.
Because I'm, believe it or not, the one probably electrician you've seen that I'm against solar.
Okay.
I'm not on that bandwagon. I cannot find the ROI to save my soul.
Oh, really?
I can't. I just can't. It's not for me.
Yeah.
But if you could find a way to reduce how much you use all day long.
Yeah. Yeah. That's
Yep. The biggest place you can make your money back on solar is if you were to have like an off-grid house somewhere where it's $30 grand to get the power to you in the first place. Well, you're
Right.
at an ROA, so you
Yeah.
don't have to pay the 30.
right. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
But-
and if it's efficient enough for your lifestyle, because we've had months with a lot of clouds, you know what I mean, where it's really tough to keep it running sometimes.
Right,
The
and
off grid is not perfect
No,
by
it's
any
not.
means. It's
it's not.
there's people out in these remote areas where the wind blows and their power goes out, but it gets restored quicker and cheaper than if you were off grid and the power goes out because there's no clouds and it's still rain for the next week. It's tough.
It's true.
So
It's tough out there because you don't realize how much you use it until,
Yeah.
until you lose it, and then
Mm.
once it's gone, you're like, okay, now what do I do?
You're like, oh. It's like that muscle you didn't know you had until you did.
Until you
As
pulled
you
it.
get older.
yeah.
Yeah, because I try to show people how to save on electricity. Like my favorite one is the old meat locker, right? Everybody's like, I save 50 cents a pound on chicken by buying, 45 pounds and I put it in a freezer. I'm like, but the freezer costs you $50 a month to run.
They do? I don't see that.
Depends how big your freezer is, but you can.
When you leave today, look at the
We gotta
freezer
look
that's
at
in this
Yeah,
trailer.
I'm about to upgrade to a bigger freezer from the stand-up freezer. So let's talk. But,
That's awesome.
Refrigeration's big on electricity.
well, for me, it's getting the local food and at the cheapest price, yes. But like when you can buy a quarter of a cow, a half a pig, and a couple of deer, and then in there for the year. To me,
Well, the ROI at that point is health, not really so much the money part.
right.
You're
Right.
getting stuff that's not all loaded up with GMOs and all
Right.
the other crap that you shouldn't eat in the first place.
Yeah.
There's a whole different health aspect for that. So
Right.
I can never argue that side of it. Like I always get a kick out of the hunters. They put a freezer in the back of their truck. They drive away up. They get an elk. They put the thing in the freeze, the deep freeze, to drive it home. Boy, there's a great ROI. You paid nothing for that.
Well, some of those permits are really expensive to
That's
get
true,
a,
too.
a
But it
moose
was the
or an
fun.
elk.
You can't get that back.
You're preaching to the choir.
You can't get that back. I mean, like golf.
Yeah, we don't talk ROI at all.
There isn't one. It's quite negative, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I got different opinions on a lot of that stuff.
Yeah, well, and is it true that if the freezer is full, it takes less energy to keep cold? Is that true?
I would say that if you lose power. What I'm saying is when you have to turn it back.
An empty freezer on at the same temperature as the freezer full of meat doesn't.
Whether how much mass you keep in cold, it doesn't really matter really at that point. As long as the bigger the freezer is, the more mass you're keeping cold.
Right, because it's still keeping
That much
the
mass.
entire piece of meat
'Cause
cold.
It comes to the
Right.
surface area around the outside box,
Right, right.
because that's where you're losing your refrigeration is the outside. So
okay.
the bigger the outside of the box, the more that can dissipate.
Okay, here's the other debate my wife and I have.
All right, let's get into this now.
College fridge, those small ones.
Yep.
Do they take the same energy as a large one?
No, they take less.
They do take less.
Yes.
How much less?
Quite a bit
we
less.
talking? Quite a bit.
Yeah, a
So-
stand-up refrigerator in your house could stall out a 1,000 watt generator, versus my parents. I had built an off-grid cabin for them. As far as power goes, her and I put solar panels on the roof, and they would run a mini fridge with freezer for a week at a time easily on
Would
3 just marine batteries.
okay.
We could never do that with a full stand-up fridge.
Okay. That makes sense. So I'm going to lose this battle. We're not going to be able to keep that fridge open.
Uh-oh.
I mean, that's definitely not efficient. What is that, from 1950?
What about a kegerator? I mean, can you trade?
Well, there's a small wine fridge under that.
Yeah.
And
So-
so
So I was gifted. So Kyle brought the wine fridge to the party,
There you
and
go.
then I was gifted this fridge, and I'm like, oh, it's And I have an appliance guy that was telling me that they typically run, depending on, like, that one's really small. That's tough comparison, and we couldn't keep. I mean, the variety of drinks that we serve here.
Yep.
But he was like, the college fridges don't save a lot of energy, is what he was saying. This was years ago. He used to say that the college fridges are just as much as a small kitchen refrigerator.
I wouldn't
So-
go that route at all.
No.
No, because I've actually tried running off a 1,000 watt generator, a full size fridge, and if you don't catch it once the compressor is completely decompressed, it'll literally stall it out, won't start it back up. Where I've run a mini fridge on a couple batteries off of like a boat,
yeah.
days on end,
Yeah.
off a little inverter without
Okay.
even blinking an eye.
Hmm.
Refrigeration kills you. It's just there's a lot energy in refrigeration.
Gotcha. All right, we're gonna have to get
What's this we?
Well, it's our studio, right?
It's your house.
Are we downsizing? Is that what I'm hearing?
I was like, let's just plug this one in, and I remember February 15th, we got the new. I plugged in that fridge, unplugged that one, and I was like, let's see what it does to the electric bill.
You know, I can't throw the ball that far neither. I have one of those drawer-style fridges out on my porch
Okay.
that, you know, keeps everything cold outside just for summertime, and I've had that plugged in all winter long.
Yep.
I don't think I've taken one beer out of there all winter.
Well, like you need it in the winter.
No,
It sounds skunked.
it probably was. I'll probably throw
Sounds
everything
like
away that's in it.
That sounds like beer abuse.
You know, and but in the same sense, I also have electric infrared heat out there too, where you can sit underneath it in wintertime.
Yeah.
Wow, that's kind of cool.
That's not energy efficient.
No, but it is nice once in a while. When I go out there, I can, you know, grill in the wintertime. So
Sure is
Yeah.
pretty.
Outdoor kitchen, purdy.
yeah.
Yep, get it all cleaned up, and then you don't want to use it.
No,
No, he's the griller. I don't
Really?
grill.
Yeah.
I pretty much make dinner every single night. I come home from work and I make dinner, and I would say 80% of the time when I come home to make dinner, I grill.
Nice.
I go outside, I fire up the grill, and that's the reason why we did the whole addition on the porch. Put a whole roof over it and ceiling fan and
I
lighting.
didn't want to do it in the rain anymore.
Yeah, I hear that.
I had 2 years of grilling in the rain. I was like, oh, I'm so over this.
Yep.
But yeah, energy efficiency is where everybody has to run nowadays, just because it's one of those things that just can suck the life out of you.
Yeah, and it is getting more and more expensive all the time. So
It is.
whether they go crazy hikes or small hikes intermittently, in the end, it's probably going to be a wash.
Yeah, it just, well, the
So-
money it takes to actually
Or
make
to-
electricity, I don't think people grasp how much, like, unless someone's walked through Millstone and see how much money is constantly being absorbed just to make electricity. Like, I was at Millstone one time and they lost power. If you can wrap your brain around that for a second. So, you know, because they're a nuclear power plant, the amount of security they have to have, right? They have their own, like, 200-yard rifle range that's inside of a building, so they're constantly tactically training for
Yeah.
anybody and everything.
Indoor rifle ranges are so expensive because they have to have proper ventilation for the
Yes, for
gunpowder.
the lead and
yeah,
everything else.
everything.
And
Yeah.
just, they have all that right on site. You know, when I was doing work in there, all of a sudden it went black. I'm like, how does the power plant lose power? They make it, they put it on the grid, but they actually don't buy it back from themselves, which is weird. So their grid comes in differently, and then they have standby generators to make sure everything.
Solar, and it was cloudy.
That's it.
They need a smart panel.
Yeah, oh my God. I try to talk people into smart panels before solar because the ROI is faster.
I'm at a loss. What's a smart panel?
So you can have a smart panel in your house that monitors right down to the breaker how much each breaker's using.
Oh, okay.
So if you wanted to have that debate, you could have hard facts with it, right?
Oh, okay.
So you could set up a smart panel with like 12 circuits, something like that, and you could put a refrigerator on each circuit, and you could literally be like, see, I told you, it shows right
What
here.
he's doing, sort of.
And you could have,
Just waiting to pay for it.
and you could chart it, and you could see how much everything cost you, and you could actually put in how much you pay for kilowatt hour, and it'll tell you how much that circuit's costing you, and then even more is you can actually turn it on and off.
Yeah, that's when you go, all right, guys, no lights in the bathroom anymore.
We're turning off the hot water here. You've been in the shower for 2 hours.
Yeah, my kid's bathroom, I keep telling them there's valves right underneath. I come right down here. I can shut your hot water off if you take a long shower. And they're like, no, don't do that. I'm like, put yourself on a timer.
Yep.
You
know?
could turn, the hot water heater off. I mean, like Adam likes to say, do you need your hot water running while you're sleeping?
Well, so here's it. So it's always a big debate about tankless, right? So what's the
My job is tankless.
All day long.
this is the right place for that joke.
All day.
But an electric tankless hot water heater versus a regular electric hot water heater, what's more efficient? You will say tankless, but
Tankless is going to be more efficient because you're not storing hot water.
right, it's only kicking on when you're using it, right?
You know, but then you got to think about the application, right? Now, in a tanked hot water heater, you're going to have, 40, 50, 60 gallons of hot water. You lose power, you're going to have hot water for at least a couple hours. On demand, you're never going to have it. And let's get realistic, unless you have a enormous generator, you're not going to have enough power to make on-demand electric.
What's enormous?
50,000.
I don't even know what-
50,000?
Well, you got to think an electric hot water heater that's
So you need a whole-
tankless is a 50 amp circuit.
So you need a whole home generator is what you really need.
But bigger than that. Most home
Right,
generators are only
50,000
20.
is huge. That's like a tow behind,
Right.
right?
Like your average standby is 20 to 30, you know, and if you use that just for your electric hot water heater, everything else goes off.
Yeah, I'll just come to Matt's when I lose power. Take a shower.
Yeah, I can run this on my 5,500 watt.
Right.
the
But you're never going to run an
generator.
on-demand hot water heater.
Right.
Right. 'Cause
Well,
I-
an electric one.
Electric
What about a propane one?
propane
That
one
would-
all day long.
Well, it's
Yeah.
just, you're not even going to plug it into the generator.
Yeah, it does. This still has a.
Yeah. Once you
120.
backfeed the panel, it'll backfeed.
Yeah, but it's not it's the propane's doing the
What
work.
is
yeah.
the heat source?
Yeah.
Is
Right.
BTUs.
Yeah.
But yeah, I like trying to make things efficiently to the point where I had a neighbor one time. We did maple syrup for a while together, and I went over his house and he had this evaporator that him and his son built for a science project when he was in 7th grade. I'm like, what's going on? He's like, oh, I'm making maple syrup. I'm like, oh, cool. Did you ever think about adding a blower to the bottom and then putting on a power vent on top to make the fuel go through it faster? We can get this from 350 up to 900 degrees in like a few minutes. He's like, really? We went from evaporating like 3 gallons an hour to 12 in the afternoon. I'm like, let's bring the efficiency to maximum.
There's a debate when you have a tank, like you see the one I have.
Yep.
Is it better to shut it off and let it cool overnight and then turn
If I
it
was-
back on in the morning and like all the oil that it takes to get it hot again back up to that temperature, or is it better to keep it within the 2 or 3 degrees?
Now,
throughout the night?
from an energy standpoint, like if storing hot water is always bad. From a plumbing standpoint, he's going to tell you that means you heat and contract everything as much. You might create
Hurt.
failures
Okay.
sooner.
Yeah.
That's because there's a lot of cast iron there and everything else.
Yeah.
I had an outside wood boiler at one time that it actually worked against me. You know, I turned off the circulator pump that went from the outside wood boiler to the house, thinking that, oh, okay, well, that means it's going to burn less wood at night because, I ended up overheating
Oh yeah.
it because it needs
yeah.
to exchange some water
Yeah.
and some heat to get rid of it. But in that application, I'm not a boiler guy, but I would say that anytime you're not using energy, it's going to be cheaper. I used to work
Right.
with a guy at Freeport that he turned on his boiler in the morning, made his hot water for his shower, and then he turned his boiler back off.
Well, with this indoor wood boiler, like when it's just cooler nights
Yep.
and not really cold. Like right now, it's cold all the time. It's good to keep it going all the time. But like October, November, come home, throw a chamber in, gives you the hot water for round of dishes, round of showers,
Yep.
a little bit of heat for the overnight,
Yep.
and then let it
Let it die out.
until you come home from work the next day.
Now, see, the next thing I'd be, is there a thermal check valve on it?
What does the thermal check valve do?
I'm just inventing that in my head.
Oh, okay.
Like efficiency.
Yeah.
There should be a thermal check valve saying that water cannot be exchanged between the uninsulated firebox and your oil burner. So that way, when you're not creating heat in the firebox, it's not losing heat from the boiler.
So we have valves for that. I just turn the valves off.
Oh, so you mechanically do it.
Yeah, you just
See,
when you're not going to run it.
In the industrial field, I always try to make it so it's one less thing you got to think about. So I
Well-
would be like, why isn't that thermally controlled? If the temperature of the firebox drops below X, turn off the valves.
Well, the other thing is if I turn that part of the circulator off, we don't have heat in the basement because this radiates heat to heat the basement.
Yeah.
So it's like, do I want heat in the basement or not? You know what I mean?
Yep.
I'd say
So-
on Mondays you do.
That's a little
Yeah.
chilly in here today.
Yeah, so it's a fun play.
Yeah.
But this is one of the first winters in 3 or 4 years where you can run it 24/7 and the house calls enough for it to be efficient. because the last 3 years where it was warm a lot of times, all of a sudden it's 85 in the house because once it gets over 190 degrees, it automatically creates heat in the house.
Right.
So it's like now everybody's in skivvies and the windows are open in January. And that happened a lot,
But
Once
yeah,
they're-
not this year.
Once
So
they're
it's like-
teenagers, they're gonna do that anyways.
I-
It's cold.
Well, I need the house. I need the winters to be cold. That's like how it works. Notice today it's 45. I don't have it running.
Yeah.
It was,
Yeah, this week's going to be brutal for you in that regard.
yeah. We'll just after tonight we'll probably close the valves and that'll be it for the week. So that'll burn that much less wood. So
And that's like this week coming. We put our snowmobiles away. We probably won't go back out again this year. We
Probably
just
not.
did about an 80-mile loop this past weekend up in Maine for a fundraiser that was up by the club where my parents belong to in Waterford, Maine. And we'll probably park them for this year. And I called up Laconia and says, hey, can you deliver my Harley? They're like, sure. When do you want it? I says, I don't know. When can you do it? They're like, oh, we can do it on a weekday or weekend. I was like, let's go for a weekend. And he's like, okay, you want it March 15th? I'm like, cool, the day before my birthday. He's like, better yet, let me deliver to you on your birthday. I'm like, you have me sold. You had me a hello. I'm ready for the warm weather now.
Yeah, I think everybody
yeah.
is.
Yeah.
Ready to switch seasons.
Yeah. March is always, it's coming, but it's always that you get like an 80-degree day and then you get back to 30-degree day. You know what I mean? It's like, it's back and forth. I always disliked working outside in the March and windy too. So sometimes you're like, oh, I'm dressed for this temperature, and then the wind just picks up.
Yep.
You're like, oh man.
That's what last year at this time when I was flying, it was like I could hardly get up at all in February and March because of the wind. April, you get a couple days in the evening, you could do a little bit of flying, but that was it.
Well,
Yeah, the weather stops agreeing with you.
Yeah, I gotta get up again just for a couple flies, just to get a proficient again.
nice.
I have an awesome instructor, Tyler. He's the most patient guy you've ever seen in your life. Like as an instructor, he never ever loses cool. Like I don't even understand how he could not. Like I remember flying one time for the first time at night, and we're coming into land, and he's like, "Pull up, pull up. You gotta pull up." And all of a sudden, I bounce off the ground. He goes, "That's the ground." I'm like, never like skips a beat. Like, how did he not like panic that we were gonna crash into the ground? But he just knew the glide slope that good that he was just like, we're just gonna do a little bump, and that was gonna be that all that happened there. And I was like, yeah, I was no.
I would imagine patience and non-panic type of mindset is needed as a flight flight instructor.
Seriously.
He is just aces. Like I can't even get. I think he's 28, 29 years old, and he's got some godly amount of hours in
Yeah.
flying. And I think he flew out in Texas for a while as an instructor. He's been flying up in Massachusetts for I don't know 4 or 5 years now, and he's just really really good. He was always been like, you got this, don't worry about it. I'm like, sure. But he's been good.
Yeah. Sometimes you don't believe in yourself, so you just believe in other people's belief in you.
Yep.
That's like a thing.
It's like
I can do
osmosis.
it. I can do it.
Yep. And she hates flying too. It's even funnier.
Airsick. I get airsick every time.
Does anything help?
No,
the
I have tried the
meds?
stupid bracelets, the Dramamine. I mean, you name it, and I've tried it. And I will always fly because you can obviously get places faster, and that's why I'm like, when you get your license, I will go with you, but I'm not going to enjoy it.
And it's got to have a smooth ride. All right.
Yeah. Well,
Keep learning.
yeah.
Those things
Some of that
don't
comes
even
down to
have
money.
heat.
Oh yeah. When I fly as heat, I only fly a Cherokee 140 right now, but I've been talking to a couple other people and maybe partner up at some point and purchasing a plane. That would be the easiest way to do it.
Yeah, I was gonna say there was like timeshare planes and yeah, you can always.
If you can build a group together, you're pretty good. It's tough to enter into one as a student pilot. Usually they always like, you need minimum 500 hours. We're not letting you touch our plane.
Right.
I get that.
And I understand that. I get the basis why they want that.
Yeah.
You don't want to be going and beating up on their plane.
Yeah.
But a couple of guys said, hey, I'd like to get a plane. I'm like, oh yeah, you want one? Let's get a plane.
Nice. Nice.
And I'm looking and going, okay, let me look at the budget, and I
Yeah.
will let you know when you can get a blank.
Right.
You're gonna get
And this
some-
is how much you can spend.
You're going to get some strict parameters.
Yes. If you can fill this box, you can do it. Can't go outside the square. That's where you land. I'm well aware. But I can't say she's never said no. She's like, if you can find the means to fix this, and you can do it. She's never said no way in hell.
No, sometimes I'm like, not yet,
Right.
but I don't
Okay.
say no.
Yeah.
She was actually the one that talked into the Harley thing. We had gone up to Laconia, and I had had a Harley before we had met, and I had just sold it after we had got together. And she's like, "What do you mean you just sold your bike?" I'm like, "I don't have it anymore." What do you mean? I like riding, and you don't have a bike anymore.
I'm a passenger princess. I'm just saying.
So we were up at the lake house and for Thanksgiving, and after like Black Friday, we go stop by the dealership, and I was like, "Well, that looks sharp." And she's like, "Well, once again, if you can make it fit in this budget." And then I was like, "Well, how do we get it home?" And the dealership had like this amazing plan, like, "Hey, we have a gas and go program. You don't have to do nothing. Just sign here, give us deposit, and we take care of everything else, like
Nice.
registration, storing it, oil changes, everything. Like you literally just put gas in it and drive it.
Nice.
Wow.
They're like,
That's
when
awesome.
you need an oil change, you can ride up here and drop it off. We'll give you a loaner bike so you can keep going riding and come back and ride some more."
That's cool.
Nice. Well, again, thank you. Thank you so much for coming out. Thanks for all the support. And,
Absolutely.
if you're out there, watching, if you like this, share, invite your friends to follow. Really appreciate our followers and all of our, content creators such as yourself. Yeah, you are a content creator now with the Community Workbench.
Oh, that's a new one.
I look forward to seeing your business grow and see, how you guys help the community more and more and everything. And here's to your success. Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Cheers.
Awesome. Thanks for watching, everybody. Join us again Monday night at 6 March. No.
Spread the love.
Oh, spread the love. Yes, we're still in our spread the love.
Last week, buddy.
I think we're gonna keep it going because we gotta get Brooklyn Cares back on here.
Oh, yeah.
If you can, definitely spread the love. Donate local, volunteer local. There are plenty of places to donate. Food pantries, shelters, churches. There's plenty places that are in need, especially through these late winter months where these, a lot of these places kind of get a little bit forgotten. It's not their Super Bowl like Thanksgiving, but we try to keep them in mind, and when you can donate. Every little bit helps. Even the cost of a coffee goes a long way for all these donations. So yes, continue to spread the love. We'll continue to bring on charities and all of those types of places as much as we can, so everybody knows who they are and see the people that run them. Also, Monday at 6, March 3rd. We have Home Improvements by Brandon Long Incorporated coming on. Brandon Long and I met at Dunkin' Donuts in Brooklyn, and we've been friends ever since. And he's quite the carpenter and entrepreneur. Can't wait for all of you to meet him. And we'll see you Monday. As always, buy local, hire local, dine local, volunteer local. Hire electricians locally and have great days.